Julie Griggs, Danielle Dietzek. Welcome back to Seeing Other People.
Thank you.
I love being here.
Thank you for having us back for like the 8th time.
I mean, you guys can come back. Like, if you want to record again tomorrow, I'm down.
Will he be here?
Will Barkley be here? Barkley does live here.
Amazing. We'll be here.
I wonder, maybe you guys should record with Barkley when you have him in a few weeks without me, and he can host.
Oh my God, yeah. We can be like guests. We could do a guest episode on your podcast.
Yes, without me.
Yeah,
We're
Without
also having
me.
a foreplay date with Barkley and Bo.
Yes.
Yeah,
So we're gonna
you
have two.
are.
It's 2 dogs and 2 girls.
Wow, that's the dream. 2
It's
boy
the
dogs,
dream.
too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's the dream.
Amazing. Well, I am so happy to have you guys back here. Thank you for being here. For those who don't know, Julie and Danielle, they are my good friends of like 5 years now. They are the founders of Fourplay Social, and they are 2 of the genuinely like best people I know. And I will always hold it against myself that you guys weren't actually at my wedding.
We were actually
at your wedding. Okay, we had the biggest honor.
We
of all.
worked your wedding.
We were managing Barkley, who was the VIP of the wedding. So we actually had the biggest honor.
We like got to be at pictures.
This is true. You
Yeah,
were.
yeah.
But no, I think I've definitely talked about you guys a lot actually when being interviewed on other people's podcasts, talking about friendship, talking about wedding planning. And, you know, I talked so much about like the stressors that I went through and like being kept up at night about the guest list. And I was like, it's just been, I mean, the 2 of you and the way you reacted to me being like, we can't have you guys there just because like the guest list is so tight. Like there are people who would let that ruin a friendship. And the way you guys reacted just made me like so hopeful. And I mean, you guys are just the best. And I tell everyone that.
And the people whose friendship it would ruin are the people that weren't meant to be on the list.
Right.
So it's a great indicator that like you made the right decision.
Also, you had been speaking to us about the stressors of your wedding, and we knew that it was a stressful part of the wedding for you was the guest list, because I know that you guys had to narrow it down, I think, and there was, you know, it was stressful. So a real friend would not add to that layer of stress, right? So regardless of your wedding, I think that we're going to be in each other's lives forever.
1,000,000%. And I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I feel
Same,
so grateful and lucky. They're also Barkley's dog sitters.
Yes. Well, I'm a by proxy. Danielle's the actual dog sitter.
I was thinking about it earlier. I'm like, how do I introduce them? Because they're like 17 things to me at this point. But anyways, can you both just introduce yourselves so people can know like who's who, what we're all doing here?
Sure. So I'm Danielle. I am one of the co-founders of Fourplay, and also I am in charge of growth at Fourplay. My background is as a nurse. So my experience is 8 years in maternity, mother-baby nursing, like postpartum and newborn nursery. And then I also have 2 years of experience as a family nurse practitioner in a primary care office.
And I'm Julie. I am the other co-founder of Fourplay. I grew up in New Jersey, went to Penn State. That's where Danielle and I met. I went into healthcare after college. I became a physician assistant. I did primary care and urgent care. And now I am full-time as Fourplay CEO.
Hell yeah, you are.
Yeah.
Okay, we're not going to talk about like healthcare and all this stuff the whole time, but I am actually curious because I don't know if I've ever learned this about each of you. Like, why did you go into the specific fields that you went into?
Can I just be a mom for 1 second? This needs to come here.
You're not going to do that.
Okay, honey. Okay. All right, hon. All
Do I have
right.
to edit this
all
out,
right.
or can I keep it in?
Good.
Keep it in. You can
Great,
keep it in.
perfect.
Why did we go into these fields? So I specifically went into mother baby because it was the only job that was available at NYU.
Oh, wow.
So I just needed a job out of nursing school, and that's really what all nursing students do is like apply for a job and take the first one you can get. But then when I was hired on mother baby and actually learned what type of nursing it is, I was like, I will never leave this type of nursing.
Wow.
Because it's so incredibly special to like give somebody confidence like in those special moments that no one else will ever see them in, like a first-time mom, to be able to give that confidence and witness those moments. I was like, this is a very, very special job in nursing and never wanted to leave it. So that's kind of what made me tick.
Yeah, that hearing my friends go through, you know, giving birth and being at the hospital, like I've heard either like the nurses were the greatest people ever or like my nurses were horrible.
Yeah.
And you have such an ability to make an impact
Yes.
in that position. It's really, really meaningful.
Yes. Your nurse can make or break
Yes.
the first 2 days postpartum.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Any unit, any floor, the nurses
Yeah.
are so important.
Yeah.
For me, so I'm the youngest of 4. I'm the only one out of the 4 of us that went into healthcare. My entire life, I wanted to be a doctor first, all I wanted to do, because my dad has the most special way about him. He is just the most gentle. We call him a koala bear. He is like just so gentle, so non-judgmental, truly cares. And growing up and seeing the impact that he had on people's lives, because we would go out to dinner and his patients would come over and be like, it's Dr. Griggs. My whole life, that's all I wanted to do, minus a short stint in 4th grade when Miss Congeniality came out. And then I was like, wait, I need to be an FBI agent. Shut up.
Not a pageant girl.
No,
an FBI
no,
agent.
not. Oh, certainly not. This, honey, we're not being a pageant girl over here, but we are being an FBI agent. And so, that to me was just what I wanted to do my entire life. And then when I got to Penn State, I had a little bit too much fun maybe my first year, and my grades were not that great. And my mom was like, I know you want to go into healthcare, but maybe you should think of a backup plan, because I'm not sure with these grades that you're going to get into medical school. And I ended up majoring in health policy and administration and minored in biology. And through my major in health policy, I learned about physician assistants and nurse practitioners. I never heard of a PA before. Mm-hmm. And then when I started looking up what PAs do, it actually really resonated with what I wanted to do with my life, which is they are designed to
Be deleted.
provide. Nope, wrong business. Trigger warning. They're designed to provide affordable healthcare to, medically underserved communities because they're more affordable than doctors. And so the mission statement of all the PA programs, I was like, wow, this is actually way more my personality. Now as an adult, now that I really know myself, I would also say that, ironically, because I'm the CEO, I think I would have really had a lot of anxiety as the doctor with the be-all, end-all say. I really liked being a PA and having a doctor to check in with and to, just like gut check me. And I only ever wanted to do primary care. I went to Rutgers for grad school. They actually required us to volunteer at the Hope Clinic there, which serves medically underserved patients that are undocumented. They don't have health insurance. And so after PA school, I then worked in primary care for a federally funded clinic where majority of my patients did not have health insurance. They didn't speak English. I have actually some crazy stories from that experience with patients who literally had, tracking bracelets on their ankles and stuff like that. So I just always wanted to go into primary care because I wanted to be with people throughout their entire lifespan, the way that my dad was. I thought I wanted to do family and have actual kids to adults, but I learned in school that you need to be really good at math to do pediatrics, and I'm really bad at math.
Wait, why?
For calculating the dosage of the medicine.
It's all based on the kid's weight.
Yeah, that did not work for me.
And it'll be in grams, not in pounds and ounces. So if they're 39, 20 grams, it's like, what's the dose of the Tylenol?
That's crazy that
So
was a
bad.
blocker.
No, I was
You're
like, this is not going to work. The math is not mathing.
Okay. Do you think now, do you think your backgrounds have helped you with, foreplay?
I definitely think that as a healthcare provider, you develop a type of trust with patients that other people don't need to develop in their corporate jobs, let's say. And I'm not sure what came first, the chicken or the egg. If I was naturally skilled in that way and that's why nursing called me, or if I stayed in nursing because that was something that I honed and liked. But I think that kind of openness and allowing for safety and vulnerability has helped in the dating industry. It helps with user acquisition when you're able to have a conversation with someone who's a potential user and get on their level and understand them and open up to them and get them to open up to you. It makes them feel like then your product must be trustworthy. So I definitely feel like it's helped me.
Yeah, I agree. From the investor perspective, the founder investor perspective, building relationships with investors, I think for sure being a healthcare provider has helped with that. Because I approach them much differently than people who are, the traditional founder route do. I also think that and I'm sure most of your listeners are single. And so when I say that our industry is a hated industry, they know exactly what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. And so it would be a lie to say that it's not difficult to acquire users. It's not difficult to build a business in this space. And if we didn't have the values that we have and the mission that we have, which is to make it a healthier experience for our fellow singles, because we are single women as well, I don't think we would have had the success that we have had, because for us, it would have been more transactional of just like, oh, it's a business.
Right.
But it's not that for us. It's backed by the medical literature that says that dating apps have a real effect on hormones, on cortisol, on testosterone, on mental health and sexual health. And so it's deeper for us because we have a different perspective on it.
Yeah. And you also have the perspective of being with single women in New York City trying to date, which is what led you to want to start it and to blow up your whole lives, change your careers, and do the thing. Which is crazy. Crazy. Okay, so real quick, can you break down what Fourplay is for those who live under a rock and haven't heard of it?
So Fourplay is an app where single friends pair up with one another and then match with other pairs of single friends and go out as a group of 4 rather than going out on one-on-one dates. So our whole philosophy is that when you go out in that kind of social setting, it's more fun, it's less awkward, it's less pressure, it's safer, obviously, for women. And the emphasis is on enjoying a night out with your friend, celebrating being single, and not about any sort of outcome. So it's not about finding a relationship that night or hooking up that night. If those things happen, great. That's not our mission. Our mission is for you to have a good night out with your friend. I
can't tell you like what I would give to have had this when I was single. And I know exactly which friends I'd be like doing it with, you know? And like I'm sad for younger me that I didn't get this experience. So I'm really happy for the people who are out there who can use Fourplay. Okay. I want to talk to you guys about what your experience is in your 30s being single women. I know that the two of you that's it. That's the episode.
Mic drop.
I know that the two of you are surrounded by a lot of people who are in relationships. Obviously, you work in the dating space. You're surrounded by love stories all the time, success stories, engagements. Congratulations on the Fourplay engagements, by the way.
Thank you. Insane. Shout out Haley and Mitch.
Insane. I know, you know, it's gotta be hard.
It's definitely hard. I think it's even aside from being in the industry, just being in a group of friends from college, all of our closest friends are seemingly progressing, you could say, in life and getting married and having babies and moving into like bigger, nicer homes. And we are kind of in this phase where like we are progressing in a different direction, and that makes relating very hard. So that's like the primary thing that comes to mind for me is honestly less about the dating industry and more about just because of the spot that we've been in and like focusing on our startup and hustling and grinding away has also meant that those other avenues have not been pursued while our friends have pursued those avenues.
Yeah, it's definitely less about working in dating, and it's definitely more about the sacrifices that you make for your career and for something that you're building. That has been significantly harder. I mean, we're genuinely stoked for every person that is finding love every day in any way. I mean, if that's what you're looking for, if that's important to you, we're happy for you if you find it, right? Like, we're not bitter people. The hard part is is this a mistake? Am I sacrificing my life? Am I giving up too much of my life? I mean, we talk about this on a daily basis. I mean, if we're just being real here, this is a real struggle of, okay, so at what point is it too much sacrifice? Right. You know, and I think as you have friends that are going through different walks, you know, they're going through different experiences than you are. I don't think them getting married is really the changing point. It's really when they start having kids and people start moving out of wherever you're living. And also the idea of a couple now, if they choose to share finances, it's now 2 people's salaries, and we're trying to keep up with those lifestyles that we certainly don't have, because not only are we single, but we also have a startup, which, you know, if you want to make good money, don't have a startup.
Yeah. Where do you think the sacrifice is mainly coming from? Like, do you acknowledge on a Tuesday night, it's like, well, we could be going on a date, but we're here working late. Like, where is it actually taking away from your ability to progress in the direction that you want to progress in?
I think for me, it's a continuation of, it's a pattern that has always been, and I need to change that. And I have therapy tomorrow, so we should talk about this in therapy. Shout out Christine. So for me, you know, in graduate school, I was very focused on my academics, and so I didn't have the capacity to have to be, you know, held accountable to another person, responsible for another person. I didn't have any more to give. I was focused on my academics because I knew there's an ending in sight. I'm going to graduate in 2019, and then I can start focusing on dating. And then joke's on me, because then we started Fourplay. And so now with Fourplay, it's, you know, putting so much energy into that and just having this feeling of I don't have bandwidth for somebody else. And I have never been and never see myself being the kind of person who just has a relationship to have a relationship. If I'm not going to be able to be a good partner, it's not worth it for me.
Yeah.
And so the sacrifice has been because I feel like I don't have the capacity for somebody else. But that's something that I'm actively trying to change. But we'll sit in the apartment and I'll make a comment, and then Danielle will say, you literally don't even have time for yourself. How could you possibly be dating right now? But I think if you're always looking for the right time to do it, it's like the right time to have a baby, the right time to whatever. There's always a reason. You can always find a reason to not do something.
If the quote unquote ideal partner of yours like walked into if you met somebody, like, would you be able to make it work or no?
Well, my good friend Alana Dunn says if he wanted to, he would.
No, I don't say that.
No, she doesn't. She's like, maybe he can. Maybe he can.
If he wanted to, reasons why he might not.
Right? No, you like to say if you want. No, who's it? You likes to say it.
Someone does.
Anyway, so if the right person walked in, the ideal person, yeah, I would 100% make time for it, especially because I have dated a ton of people. So there are not that many ideal people that match me perfectly. I wouldn't let that pass if it presented itself.
But I would play devil's advocate that you don't know if the right person is walking into your life from the very first time you meet that person.
Of course.
So when we're talking about this in theory, you're like, sure, if he walked into my life, I would then start making time for him if he was the guy. But you're never going to know if he's the guy unless you allow yourself the time to go on dates with the person. And that's the thing that we don't have the time for, is the going on the dates part, the figuring it out part.
But I think that I think if somebody walked into the room who I thought, wow, this could be the person for me, I could sooner see myself telling the person, I don't have much time. I have very, very limited availability. So I can't rush into something, but I'm willing to feel it out if you are going to be patient. But if somebody walked into the room who I didn't think was a good match for me, I'm not going to take the time out of my day.
But that's what I'm saying, is I think there's a misconception that someone can walk into a room and you can be like, that's a person that's a good match for me.
Fair.
Like, you don't know that. So, like, it does take the time to actually go on the dates with the person. By the way, I'm being the biggest hypocrite because I'm certainly not taking any time to date anybody. But I definitely think that, like, it's kind of a trick question.
I love it.
Barkley decided it's time to knock the cushions off the couch. It's not time yet, buddy. This isn't on the schedule till later.
He's trying to get comfy.
You can do that. Just we can't have this here. Well, okay. To play devil's advocate to both of you, like, brain surgeons don't have time.
Right.
But they make it work.
Right.
There are a lot of people who don't have time.
Yeah.
But
no, you're absolutely
people
right.
People can make it work.
You're absolutely right.
Oh, no. You didn't like that advice.
Barkley. Where's Danielle?
Hi. How does
I
he?
told you he knows you.
Hi, sweetie boy.
He went right to her.
Oh.
Okay.
Good boy.
Now he'll calm down. So at what point how long do you let this go on for?
Yeah.
You know, if there's something out there that you want to progress in terms of, you know, maybe family, relationship, quote unquote, settling down, whatever that means to you. what do you do?
Right.
Shit if I know. No, I also, well, it's an interesting question because I was talking about this earlier, another conversation that we had earlier today with somebody else. Another thing that has now started to weigh on my conscience with dating is because I'm 33, how am I being perceived by men as I'm dating? Like getting I got so in my head last night where I was like, okay, so if a guy hears that I'm 33, and this probably came from a date that I was on not long ago, where a guy was like, I probably wouldn't date older than like 34 because like she's going to want to have a baby tomorrow. And he was like 2 years younger than me. And I'm like, hon, not what you say. Not what you say to an older woman. But I was in my head last night thinking, okay, so if a guy meets me and doesn't know anything about me, he doesn't know that I am not the girl who likes to jump right into a relationship. I like to take my time. I like to get to know somebody. Is he going to make assumptions about me because of my age?
Right.
And so is my age now going to work against me in a way that I never really thought about when I was younger? And I'm only going to get older, hopefully. And so as I get older, if I'm still single, is it going to weigh more on dating? And I was like down this whole like rabbit hole last night of like, oh my God. So like, am I like old now with dating? And how am I perceived? And what do you guys think? And you know, the thing about dating apps is you can put as much on there now as you want. And maybe that's a good thing. And maybe it's not a good thing. Maybe we know too much about the person too soon. But I was like, do I need to add something to my profile that's like, I'm, you know, casually looking for something serious. I'm not trying to have a baby tomorrow. Right. And that's a whole other like mental load on a single woman who's dating.
I think I've definitely thought about this before. And I think the silver lining is it opens up another category of men that we just perhaps didn't think about before. Like men who are maybe a few years older than us, who are, maybe they already have a child and they like, I'm sorry, where was I going with that?
Maybe
I know I had a train of thought, but I forgot what it was.
Maybe for whatever reason, they're older than you and they're single and they're not in a rush.
Yeah.
Maybe. Is that where you were going?
I know where I was going. I know where I was going.
Come back.
They already had a child, let's say. So they are not as freaked out by like the consequences of like having a kid and like they're life changing. Like they might be like, yeah, I've had a kid and like I'm open to having more now. Like, which ideally I probably don't want a partner that already has a child, but also I'm open to whatever options there are out there. Why? I think because I want to be like their number one commitment in the beginning of the relationship, but like you'll never trump someone's kid. Right. Like they're and that's the way it should be.
Yeah, and I would just like to say that I would be more than fine with somebody who had a kid. I actually think it's a green flag on the apps when I see that a guy has a kid or when I hear about it.
Why do you think that?
Because I think that there is, having brothers who have kids, I think that there is a level of emotional maturity that unlocks when a man becomes a parent. And I think it's really sweet, especially if he has daughters. You know that he's going to be more respectful, you would hope, because he is raising one. And also because just knowing my personality, I think I would be like, I would take on somebody else's kid as if they were my own. I would want to also have kids with that person, but it's not something that I think about really much in a negative way at all when I see it.
What do you think, like what do you tell yourself when you're spiraling at night like you were last night about like, is my age going to be another barrier? Because you are going to turn 34 and then you are going to turn 35 and who knows where you will be at that point. Like maybe you'll meet somebody, maybe you won't, maybe you'll still be, maybe Fourplay will be the biggest social app
for singles
in the world. Maybe like, who knows, but you are like, what is true is that you are going to get older.
Yeah.
That is the fact here.
Yeah.
So how do you, and maybe there is no answer, but for other people listening, like if it's easier to give advice than take advice, like what advice would you give someone else who was venting to you about this problem?
Yeah, I mean, my first thought when I was deep in the hole last night was okay, well, last summer you played so much pickleball. Last year was the year that I had more dates from people that I met organically off of technology than ever before. And it's because I was doing things that I love to do.
Which you found time to do.
Which I found time to do because it was important to me. And so I'm doing it with people who it's also important to them. And so we automatically have a shared interest, right? And so when you're meeting people that way, the first question isn't, how old are you? I was literally asked out by somebody last year. And I said to him, I think I'm too old for you. And he was like, I'm sure you're not. And I'm like, you're 24. Oh my God. And he actually didn't really care, which was kind of flattering. But to that point, it's the last thing. It's like you're not leading with that. On apps, you're leading with your age. You're literally filtering out people based on their age. And so when I was in bed last night, I was thinking, okay, well, I was really happy when I was doing more things. And so just go back to doing those things because you're going to meet people that you vibe with. And maybe your person isn't there, but maybe your person is friends with somebody who is there.
Yeah.
Because you're going to want to be you're going to want to be with somebody who's friends with the person who does those things. Yeah. And then I also told myself, this isn't helping you to sit and ruminate on this. It's not serving you. And I'm a firm believer in when you are feeling good about yourself, when you're feeling confident, you put out that energy and it is more attractive. And to sit and ruminate on that it's not going to put out an energy when I'm meeting people that I want to put out. Mm-hmm. And so that's when I was like, do more things that make you happy. Because if I'm happier, it's going to be less top of mind for me. It's top of mind for me because I'm finding reasons to panic.
Someone who like asks, well, what does happen if I get older? Like, cause that is me and that's what I have to work through. There are like two routes. One route is trying to convince myself or like open up my mind to the possibility that like I still could find somebody and will find somebody. It just didn't happen on the same timeline. And for that, I have to tell myself things like, look at this person. Like I think about examples, or I think about the fact that life doesn't start and end when like you're in your 20s. So there might be somebody who's married in their 20s. And right now, let's say he's currently married to his wife, but maybe in 5 years from now, he won't be anymore. And then he'll be on the market again, this mystery person, and maybe he'll be looking for a life partner. So you never know like what opportunities are out there and what unconventional ways of meeting people exist. But then the other thing I also have to tell myself is, and it actually would be okay if I didn't find a life partner. Like I would have to accept that outcome too if that happened. And just knowing that like I'm a firm believer that whatever happens is meant to happen. Mm-hmm. And that if the outcome that you didn't want out of your life doesn't happen, that you don't just like fall into the abyss. Like your life continues to unfold and you keep having opportunities and you keep having experiences and opportunities to find joy outside of what that initial goal was that has fallen to the wayside. So I don't only have to like convince myself that like for sure it's going to happen for me and I'm going to manifest that. It's also about accepting that it might not, and either way is fine.
Do you think you could be happy without a partner?
I think that if you ask me right now to like make that decision, you have to choose. Like, I would be like, no, I wouldn't be happy without a partner. But I do believe that if I accepted it, that I could work on fulfilling myself without a partner. I do believe that.
I think it gets complicated because at what point do you accept it?
Yeah.
And stop looking?
Yeah.
You know, it's something that you're always going to be, you know, looking around for, wondering, like, is it going to happen?
Right.
You know, is there still hope? Like, should I take this setup? Should I keep trying? Or should I just stop? And that's where it's tough. Like, it's not black and white.
Well, I think also it matters, like, if what your objective is. Like for some people, like they want to find a partner because they want to have a family. Right. So maybe the pressure gets taken off of them and they can find acceptance after they're no longer able to have a family. Mm-hmm.
Or they decide to raise a child on their own.
Or they decide to have a family without a partner. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I think it depends on like what your objective is in a relationship, but I definitely agree with you. That's a very gray area.
How do you guys go about having these, or do you have these conversations with your friends who are married with
kids?
It's
so funny. We just had dinner on Friday with our friends who all have kids. And what I was going to say before, but I'll also answer that question, is if you define your happiness based on one relationship in your life, and that one relationship is a romantic one, then you will not be as happy as somebody who views every relationship as a meaningful one. So I consider myself extremely lucky. I would not change any of the friendships or relationships that I have with anybody for a romantic partner. I would not 100% can say that confidently. And on Friday night when we all had dinner, I said to our friends that it's not that I don't have a boyfriend that is upsetting. It's not that I don't have kids that's upsetting. It's just that the further along you guys go, I'm worried that I'm going to be so unrelatable to you, and vice versa. Like, I'm worried that you're going to think, well, what do I still have in common with Julie? And how can I be relatable to Julie? I can't do these things because I have kids now that need to go to like whatever the activity is. And I don't want that to happen. And so how do we prevent that from happening? And I think it's a little bit similar, though not entirely similar, to when you have your friends in college, and if you were someone that liked to party in college and you had your friends that you like to go out with, right? And then you graduate from college and you realize, well, now that we're not going out like multiple times during the week, I don't really have much in common with this person, and we're not really compatible.
Same thing with childhood friends. It's like some of them you were friends because you were in each other's bubbles.
Yep.
And you lived in the same place.
Right.
And then suddenly you don't. And it's like, wait, there's nothing here.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that friends are going to come and go. But the friendships that are the real meaningful ones, that there's depth there, that you have things in common with before you change stages in life, those are relationships that you have to find ways to hold on to. And the advice that I would give people that are single, that are struggling because their friends are further along romantically than they are, a different place romantically than they are, is be happy for your friends. Don't be jealous of them. Be happy that they found somebody that is adding. I mean, unless their partner's an asshole, then don't. But if it's a good partner, be happy for your friends. Ask about the relationships. Ask about the things that are bringing them joy. Because you would want them to do that for you. And to the people who are the ones that are in relationships that have friends that are single, make sure that they feel that what's going on in their life is as important as what's going on in your life. Because something that Danielle and I struggle with, and Danielle can speak to it more because she struggles a little bit more with it, is feeling like our things going on are less significant because it's not a human life coming into the world. It's not a huge wedding that's being planned.
Right. Like I have expressed to my friends, and I think it's healthy to express it, that like there are things that are the equivalent for me in my life that they're not a given. It's a given when someone has a kid that's clearly the most important thing that they want to talk about. Like, and so I can just make that assumption and I can ask them the right questions. But like they need to know, what are the things that I want to be asked about that are like important to me? Like they need to know. And I think that there's kind of a misconception that if you're single, that the thing that you probably want to be asked about is your dating life. And so a lot of people who are like friends in relationships will be like, and what's up with you? Like, are you dating? And it's like, actually, that's not the most important thing that I want to talk about.
Right.
There are other things that I want to talk about. So I think like in really genuine, real friendships, you need to communicate what's important to you so that they also know how to show up. And another thing that we spoke about the other night is like, if showing up is a part of your identity.
We're all just, Berkeley's digging
We're just
into the couch.
wondering what you're doing.
Get comfortable, old man. Go ahead.
God, he is on bad behavior today. He's
'Cause
like,
we're
I don't
here.
have to impress
He's like,
them.
it's my
Because we're here.
Yeah.
And he's like, they always let me be on bad behavior. They give me peanut butter when I act like this.
Unconditional love. It's unconditional love.
Yes, we're looking at you. Oh my God.
If you have friends that that their identity is like to be a person that shows up, because that is, I think, a very common identity for people. I know that I have a couple of friends that is how they feel good about themselves, is like knowing that they show up for someone else. It actually makes them feel pretty shitty if they don't know how to show up for you.
Yeah.
So like communicating like, this is the stuff I need you to ask me about is really important.
Well, what did your friends say at dinner, Julie, when you said, like, I worry that I'm going to become like less relatable to you?
Oh, they were incredible. I mean, I was a little drunk, so what did they say?
I don't know what they said, but I know they were like amazing. I know it ended with all of us holding hands and being like, oh my God, we love each other.
It ended with me being like, let's just all hold hands for a minute. And like we have like one friend who like is like, don't touch me. And we were just saying, we are so lucky that we're able to communicate these things with one another and we don't bottle it up. And not only we can communicate it, but then everyone else will act on it. Mm-hmm. I think what our friends did say was, honestly, they didn't give any kind of advice or anything. I think that was probably the nicest part, was that they just listened and they were like, no, I totally get that. I totally get why you would feel that way. I mean, it's not going to happen, but I can understand. Like, they weren't trying to make it like I was being ridiculous that I thought that way.
Right.
They were like, yeah, if we were in your shoes, we would also probably have that fear. We get it.
I think the best part is you also open the door for that conversation to continue. So if you ever do feel that way, it won't come as a shock or out of left field, and it's something that'll also be on their radar.
100%. Like that wasn't my first time having a conversation about that with like one of the friends who was there, Katie. Like, we've spoken about it before, and she has checked in with me. Like, when we've left a whole like group thing where like babies were there and it was all about the babies, and like checks in after, and she's like, I know that must have been hard that like you didn't have a baby there. Like, are you okay? So, and like that's what builds the closeness, is like having those vulnerable moments.
Yeah, you weren't there when I left the same type of thing and got a phone call from Danny. And Danny was like, that must have been really hard for you. Sorry if you have to keep being in those situations. Which is also like, we don't want to be pitied. I mean, like, I'm totally happy. I was like, no, I love your partners. I love everything. It's just that I want to make sure that we can still connect on the things that brought us together as friends before we entered this stage of life. I'm sure you also have friends, right? That are.
I have friends who are probably trying for their second baby now, and I have friends who are single and feeling really like they're falling behind.
And do you guys talk about it?
Yeah.
And how does that usually go?
I think it's very much, I think whatever my friends, like, for example, my friends who have gotten pregnant or who have had babies before, like, for example, when they tell me that they're pregnant, I have a very open conversation of like, let me know how I can show up for you. If I'm like asking too many questions, if like you're not feeling well and you need to cancel something, like, I don't know what this is like. So like, I need you to kind of like lead the path. And then my friends, before they like actually give birth, I'm like, please tell me, like, I want to make sure I'm showing up for you. Again, like, I have not been through this. So like, if I'm annoying you and checking in too much, like, you never have to respond to my texts ever. Like, I'm reaching out, you don't have to respond. Yeah. If I'm not reaching out enough, I want you to tell me because I'm, thinking about you every second, but I don't want to be annoying when you have a million other things to do. Like, I think it's because I'm very in my head. Like, I like to think that I'm a good friend and I want to show up for the people that I love. So I think it's, checking in and then, and like kind of expressing like, I want to make sure I'm showing up for you in the way that's right. I haven't necessarily had a conversation of like, your conversation that you had of, are we, gonna be less relatable in these different stages of life. But with my friends who are single, I'll say like, do you want to talk about dating? Do you not? Do you want my advice? Do you not? Yes. Like, what do you need? Mm-hmm. And I think I do a really good job of that.
Mm-hmm. You're a very good friend that you ask them if they want to talk about it or not, if they want advice or not.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yes, you're an amazing friend.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You had 2 women on your podcast recently.
Oh my God, they're the best. I know exactly
I'm
what you're
obsessed
talking
with them.
about.
They're amazing.
Amazing.
And like they were talking about how like when one had the baby before the other had the baby, like I couldn't connect with you. Yeah. Like, you don't understand this part of like what I need right now. And that conversation like actually did scare me because I was thinking, oh my God, like that's.
Well, I was thinking, and I was about to ask you guys next, have you thought about and have you talked about when one of you gets into a relationship and the other doesn't? I mean, you guys are best friends. You're in the same friend group, but you are best friends. You are co-founders. You are roommates.
It's like a marriage. Like it's like we are married. So
and we don't have sex, so it's really like a marriage.
We've absolutely had that conversation, and we've had like Julie has had like guilt when she's been like progressing in like a guy that she's dating, because she's like, I feel really bad like coming home after like spending this time with this guy and like you're here by yourself. Do you want to speak to that?
I had guilt. No, it's I can weigh in after, but
yeah. But what we've discussed is, and like she opened up to me about that, because I think I had said to her, like when she came home one time, like, why do you never like tell me anything about the date? I'll be like, but how was it?
You want every detail.
And she's like, good.
She's like, I don't want to like gloat and rub it in your
Right.
face that I had a really great date.
Right. And she's like, I don't want to make you feel bad, whatever. And I said to her ultimately, like over a period of time that we were having more conversations like this, like a man will never replace me, and I know that. Like we have a woman to woman connection that like a man will never replace. So I know that somebody will be able to contribute to her life in a way that I can't, but I also know that like I am irreplaceable in her life. So I hope that that was like a helpful thing to say. And it's also what I need to tell myself. Mm-hmm. It's also like, it's not only that what I need to say to her so that she doesn't feel bad, but what I need to make sure that like I remind myself of with Julie and all of my other friends, that even though people have partners, there is nothing like a female relationship. There's just nothing like it. And that kind of like emotional intimacy. Like there's nothing like that.
Yeah, I hope that everybody who is single and has a single friend, I hope that their single friend is like Danielle, because she is so not selfish, has never tried to sabotage anything that I was pursuing with a guy ever. Has actually been the opposite. I've been trying to sabotage and she's been like you're sabotaging it. Stop. Asks about the dates when I come home, wants to know the details, and then listens so gracefully and is excited for me. And I know what it's like to have friends that don't react that way. I'm not friends with them anymore, but from just life, having friends like that who actually aren't happy for you and secretly want you to fail. And I hope that everybody who is single and has single friends, I hope that their friend is like Danielle. And if they're not, you should go find yourself a Danielle, because that's actually what friendship is.
They're hard to find.
They're really hard to find. But your
both
friends,
of you, like you guys are such one in a million type of people. Like I feel that way so deeply.
We feel like
and
about
the fact
you.
that you guys have each other too is so special, and something that I'm sure a lot of people are listening to this being like, well, I'm the only single one.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep. And I've definitely heard people talk about that before. That's how I feel if Julie is like away. Like then I have that realization where I'm like, oh fuck, like I'm the only single one, because it is nice that I have somebody else who I can relate to. So I totally get that.
But we've also done things in the past year to make friends with other people as well that are in relationships and married, and also who are single. Like we've definitely worked to diversify other outlets in life, because that is a real reality too. It's like you don't want to be, it's hard when you're the last single one and you feel like alone on this island. But like I said earlier, I would never begrudge anybody for being in a relationship. We're happy for people. I think that you should be happy for people, because you're going to want that back when it's your turn, if it is your turn and if that's what you want. The only thing I get in my head about talking about dating with Danielle, is when I don't like the situation that Danielle's in with a guy, and I'm brutally honest because she needs it, I'm like, I hope she's not taking this as I'm jealous and I'm like trying to sabotage, because I can be like pretty blunt about it. I'm like, you're being an idiot. But other than that,
she's like, he doesn't like you.
But we all need that friend.
No, but I need that. I need that.
It. Yes,
you need it.
1,000%. What was I about to say?
I had something I wanted to say.
Go for it.
That's literally not related to anything we're saying. I just wanted to say it earlier in the conversation that like another difficult thing that I think that
I found it. Continue.
You go.
No.
Oh, what? Okay, so then we don't have to expand on this. But another difficult thing that I think is unique to us because of like the industry that we're working in and how old we are is not only does it feel like we're unrelatable to our friends, but then we're also in this very highly saturated community of very young people who are very carefree about being single, because a lot of our users are in their 20s and don't feel as much pressure as we do. And so it's kind of like who can we relate to?
Does that help you maybe feel less pressure though? Oh, why is Julie's laughing?
It's like, who can we relate to? And I'm like, I don't know.
Each other.
Each other.
Yeah.
And a lot of people listening to this.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to steal your thought, but
No.
but I was curious, you're saying people who are listening who are maybe the only single friend left. Do you have advice for those people?
I think exactly what you just said before of like diversifying the people you spend your time with. Like find other people who are going through the same things as you. Like it sucks to feel isolated and you don't have to feel isolated. Maybe you don't have that friend, that like partner in crime, but go meet people.
Yes.
Like put yourself in uncomfortable positions. You will be rewarded every time you do.
Yes.
And you don't have like there's no cap on like, well, you have 6 close friends, you can't have another one. Like I have met like so many of the coolest people ever in the last few years, and I love making new friends. I love meeting new people because I love my old friends too, and I'm still just as close with them, but why not continue to expand and connect with other people who you can relate to?
I agree with you 100%. And I think that like if you're somebody who grew up around New York or around your metropolitan city where kind of everybody just ends up, like you might feel, for some reason, as though it's really hard to expand your bubble. But what you don't realize is that other people who didn't grow up around here, and not everyone from their high school and college is here, like they move to this city and they are very open to finding friends. Like other people, like I think there's this mindset, I know that this kind of for me, like was a realization, is like there are so many people who are very open to making friends because that's how they are going to be happy here, is like make those connections, and they're receptive to a random girl walking up to them and giving them a compliment and being their friend.
Yeah. I mean, there are so many Facebook groups, Instagram groups that do like walking clubs. I am in an Upper East Side Facebook group that has a book club WhatsApp that anyone can join and anyone can go to the book club. Like there are so many ways to meet people, but you have to hold yourself accountable for doing it.
Also, I think people are afraid to go to things alone because it's awkward. I think it's awkward. I force myself to do it, but we have events. We try to have events often, and so many people come alone. Like you're likely not going to be the only person who came alone, and it's really hard to approach a group of people when you're solo. But if you've never done that, you should try, because the worst that's going to happen is you're going to go to this event or go to whatever by yourself, feel really awkward, and then leave. If you didn't make any new friends from it, you say, okay, well, I tried it and I don't do well in that situation. But I think that a lot of people are really in your shoes. You just don't know.
Yeah.
And until you try, you're not going to realize that there are a lot of people who are just trying to meet other people and just trying to connect.
My favorite part of events is seeing girls exchange phone numbers.
Yes.
Not seeing like a girl and a guy exchange a phone number, but seeing girls exchange a phone number and walk out together.
Yes.
That is like the greatest feeling.
The one we had together was
there were,
like
group chats made.
Unbelievable. Like so many women were making friends. I love seeing that too.
Yeah, it's the best. Okay, my question is, how do you two, and maybe you do, maybe you don't, but how do you work towards not defining yourself based on your relationship status? Like, how do you not think of yourself as like, I'm Danielle and I'm single. I'm Julie and I'm single.
Amazing question.
It was worth finding it. Let's go on a little treasure hunt there.
Do you want to go first? Do you have an answer?
I never defined myself by my relationship status. I think I've started to become defined by it by other people as I'm getting older. I think that I have never cared nor was never labeled as like the single friend, even though I was single. But I think that as you get older, people assume that people want to be in relationships, right? Maybe there's somebody who's single right now because they want to be single. Maybe that's us. Maybe it's not. I can think of another friend that we met in the past year who recently told us she has no interest in being in a relationship and she wants to just be in a relationship with herself because she hasn't been in one of those in a long time. So I think as you get older, the expectation from older generations is, oh, they must be getting worried because they're still single. Oh, why are they still single? They're amazing. Why are you still single? I have somebody for you. So then everybody else starts highlighting your relationship status, which then makes you think, oh, am I supposed to be focused on my relationship status? Because it's really like hitting a nerve for everybody else. So I think in the past, it's probably since I'm 32. So in the 32 and 33 has been more about my relationship status than ever before. And I don't think I'm putting that on myself. I think other people were unintentionally. I don't think that they're like trying to define me by that. But I think that they just assume that that's what I want as I'm getting older. And so it's become a focal point for them. And in trying to be thoughtful and consider me, I don't think they realize that it's actually detrimental.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, my therapist has made suggestions like just tell your family like it's not a topic. And when you have something that you want to share with them and you're excited about, you'll talk about it with them. But every time they bring it up, it actually pushes you further away from wanting to date because it's becoming your identity. Yeah. So I think people don't realize that they're actually putting it on other people more so than people are putting it on themselves. Although I'm sure also I put it on myself as well.
Well, and I think what's interesting about that, and tell me if you think I'm wrong here, but when I think about the people in my life who are single, I don't think of them as single Alex.
Yeah.
I think of, you know, them as Alex, and it's like, oh, like I would love to find someone for Alex because that would be awesome. Yeah. And so if I bring it up to Alex of like, oh, I have someone to set you up with, or like, oh, have you been on any dates lately? It's not because I think of Alex as single. It's because I'm interested in Alex's life. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I would love to hear more about. And so I wonder, like, I mean, it's just hard because it's like people asking you about it then makes you feel like, oh, well, everyone else is, you know, defining me as this. Should I be defining me as this? It's just a cycle.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I think there's also a nuance there, which is if you came to me and you were like, I met this guy, I need to set you up with him, which you have done. I want to set you up with him because he's amazing. He has similar sense of humor, also career driven, naming things that actually make sense why you want to set me up with him. I'm so flattered that you think so highly of this guy.
Yeah.
And I'm the person that you want to set him up with.
That's a good call. Versus like, I'm going to scroll through my contacts and see, do I have anyone, do I know any single guys to set you up with?
Yes. Yeah. Like an intentional setup is the biggest compliment that you can give to your single friend because it's like, wow, that's so nice. I mean, that's been a point for us where it's like, well, why didn't she want to set me up with him? Why is she setting you up with him? Like, it's because it's a compliment.
It's intentional.
When it's intentional. When it's not intentional, when it's you're single and let me just set you guys up, which I've also been on. And I'm like, why the hell am I on this date? We have nothing in common. And also he's like a rock. Like there's nothing coming out of his mouth and he's not absorbing anything that I'm saying. That's offensive because I'm like, well, you just thought we were two single people, so just put them together in the corner and they'll go. Yeah. So I think that there's also, if you're intentional in it about it, I think it's a huge compliment. And if you're just doing it because it's two single people, it's really offensive.
Yeah. Danielle?
I feel like when people see you as single or you see yourself as single, that's only human. Like people make observations. That's part of being a human being is making observations. So somebody might observe that you're single and might put a label on you, but that label that they're putting on you might not necessarily be a judgment. Like they might be labeling you as single, but that doesn't mean that like they're labeling you as like less than. It's kind of like just the way our brains work is like you put things into categories, right? You put things into categories. Like it makes
tall,
it makes
funny,
right,
extrovert,
right? And it's okay for somebody to like acknowledge that you're single, and it's okay for that to be part of your identity too, that you're single. I think the part that is the critical piece is what judgment you are putting on being single. And you convey that to another person. Like another person can see what your personal belief is about you being single. Mm-hmm. And if you have a negative personal belief about it, then they're going to also have a negative belief about you being single and vice versa. So it's kind of like confidence. It's like when you think about someone who's beautiful, like there are people who are beautiful because they just like fit the things that like are like the checklist of things that are beautiful. And then there are people who are beautiful because they are communicating to you that they're beautiful. Like they have the confidence and like they're telling you that they are without telling you that they are. So you just believe it. You're like, oh, you are beautiful because you're conveying that to me that you are. So I believe it because you believe it. So it's the same thing with being single.
Yeah. No, that's such a good point because I'll see people, especially on social media, where I'm like, oh, like they're so confident. Like I wish I had their confidence. And then I find out from them they're not confident at all. And I'm like, wait, that's so crazy. But yeah, it's like people really do soak in like what you put out there.
Yes. Definitely.
Yeah. You guys, we could talk for a gajillion years.
Correct.
But we're not going to do that. My last question for you. Instead of asking for the best piece of dating or relationship advice, I'm going to ask just what's the best piece of advice you've gotten lately about anything? Life, career, friendship, waking up in the morning.
I got really good advice recently as it relates to business, but I think it's copy and paste across anything. The advice that I got was don't drink poison because you're thirsty. I thought it was such a good piece of advice. It's very similar to advice that one of my sociology professors gave us in college, or maybe it was a chem professor who said never satisfy a short-term impulse if it'll compromise a long-term goal. And I think that as it relates to dating, we could say, you know, if you are feeling like I don't want to be single anymore and whatnot, it's not an excuse to just jump at the first opportunity that you have. Like you should, in anything in life, like not sacrifice who you are, what your values are, what you believe in, just because right now in this very moment you might be uncomfortable.
Yeah. I love that. Also, great. The fact that you remember a piece of advice one of your professors gave you. I'm like, I wish every professor would be like, if you take away one thing from this semester, from your time with me, this.
Yep.
I will tell you, I honestly, I have thought about that piece of advice so often, because so often I'm like, I just want to do that. And then I'm like, but it's going to compromise the long-term goal. It's not worth it. Don't just do it in the moment. Like think about
tuition worth it.
Made it worth it.
I also wish that every professor who gave advice like that knew what an impact it had on someone. Like whoever that professor
have
is,
you ever reached out to them?
I need them to know.
Literally have no idea what her name is. Literally have no idea.
You should figure it out.
We need
tell
to
her.
problem solve.
I think I remember it because I was gonna go out that night, but I think I had an exam the next day, and then I was like, "Don't satisfy the short-term impulse. Don't do it. I think that's why it stuck with me, because it was like there was a short-term impulse that I wanted to do, but then I was like, no, but I'm going to compromise my long-term goal, so don't do it. So it was very in the moment.
Do you think had you gone out that night, your life would be different?
I don't think I'd be sitting on this couch. Who knows where I would have been?
Never know.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't necessarily know a piece of advice that I've gotten lately, but I know something that clicked for me lately.
Ooh.
Something that clicked. I always have heard, like, we can't control what people do to you, but you control the way you respond, right? So, like, I've always heard that, and it's just so commonplace that, like, I have never actually thought about it. Like, it's just kind of a platitude. But it clicked for me the other night. And I like opened up my notes app and I was writing like the real meaning of it. And I was like, oh my God, this is insane. Like, you are in control. You are 100% in control of your own life, or like how it impacts you. So like if you are rejected, let's say, because like that, it was in the context of being rejected, like, yeah, it absolutely sucks that I was rejected. I'm not going to not be sad about it. I am going to acknowledge that I'm sad about it. However, I also am like, but I'm in control of it not taking over my day-to-day thoughts. Like, I can set boundaries on like how long I'm allowed to think about this for, what are the topics that I want to jump to in my head to distract myself from this. Like, I am completely in control of that. And that's very empowering.
It is so true. Like, it's crazy because we forget that we have agency.
Yeah.
We really forget that we can make choices and do things differently.
Yes.
And when you remember that, it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Everything feels different.
Right. Like, thoughts are automatic. Thoughts you can't control. They just come up in your head. Emotions are automatic. Like, you don't have control over that necessarily, but you do have control over behaviors, and you do have control over being like, I'm setting a limit on this, and then I'm getting up and I'm doing something else after I let myself have these 5 minutes of thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. I love you guys.
Wait,
love you too.
What's your advice?
Oh God. What's my advice?
Run the half marathon?
No, don't. Don't. I want to give myself a lot of grace this week. I just did something so hard that I never we're recording this 2 days after my half marathon. I just did something so hard that I never in a million years like would have ever thought I was capable of doing. And like my body is tired, my brain is tired. I like fought so hard to get to the point to be able to do it. And so I'm just really trying to like go easy on myself and like be really proud of myself.
It's amazing.
Yeah, you should.
You should absolutely be so proud of yourself.
Thank you. I am.
I still don't know how you talk to the camera while you run. I'll never understand that, but I'm proud of you.
I don't know either, but I somehow do it. All right, there's a fire somewhere or an emergency, so we're gonna go. Where can people find you guys? Oh yeah, they make the funniest content ever. Every time I see one of your videos, I'm like, I need to do a brainstorm session with them.
Oh wow. Okay, well that's how I feel when I see yours. But you can find Fourplay in the App Store, and you can find us on social media with @Fourplay Social. Just Fourplay Social now. Yeah, just @Fourplay Social.
FOUR.
FOUR. Don't get excited and do FORE. And personally, I have nothing to offer on my personal Instagram.
They're really, really funny on Fourplay. And Julie writes great LinkedIn posts.
Thank you. Thank you. My claim to fame.
And with that,
Goodbye.
good night.
Good day.